I'm just curious about some things that maybe would make somebody stand out to you when you have three resumes and they all have very similar like technical backgrounds.
Yeah, it's often not the tech they've used in this domain as much as the problems they've tackled.
Mhm.
Because that's where it really gets into interesting. And you can tell oftentimes we do the interview, was this person really driving, decision making? Were they really understanding what was happening, or were they kind of auxiliary role? But I think for us, it's even more so than the specific technologies you've used. It's how do you think about the problem domain you were presented with? How did you approach it? What did you do wrong? What did you learn from your mistakes? How could it have been more efficient? Those are the conversations that I think actually tend to show the most value. Of course, we do technical tests and screening and all that.
Mhm.
But I feel like that's in some ways the easy part. And what really gets us interested in is, how effective is this person going to be when they're put down in front of an actual real world problem? This is similar to, we were saying earlier that things have shifted quite a bit in the sense that it's, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's easier to do a reasonable job of producing a model. So we're really looking what's your aptitude now to think about the problem domain and think about the data, think about problems with the data, gaps in the data, et cetera. And then how does that apply to what you're going to do from a modeling perspective? So those are kind of where we're starting to steer more and more of the discussions, at least around the data science.
I love that your focus on getting somebody who's also just hyper curious, asking really good questions. How important is humility?
That's a hard one. For me, that's a good one. It's at the end of the day, we're dealing with a domain which is essentially quantitative, and so the work that people produce is typically measurable. So you're either able to demonstrate that you're doing things that make sense, or you're not. Where the humility part comes in, I think, is more on how well does this person work with a team and with other stakeholders in the business, right? And again, like you're moving the person more into the problem domain, they really need to be able to work well with other people, including people who are not going to be data scientists, right? And they may not understand what the heck you're talking about when you start dropping into the language of data science beyond a certain level. So that to me, for a lot of organizations, is probably a key corollary to a sense of humility. And I think the people who want to come into an organization, the right way to come in is I want to make the organization successful, not that I want to show off or want to make myself
Mhm.
successful. I think that's, I mean, honestly, I think that's true for anything in software, general software development domain or whatever. I always tell people as they move up the curve from a career perspective, it's got to be less and less about you. You'll do well. You'll get promotions or whatever to the extent that you're able to make other people successful. And I think that's a lot. That's a key element of, it's like an irony or paradox in some sense, because the better you are going to be as an executive, the less you're going to rely on some of the characteristics that maybe helped you kind of get ahead and jockey ahead of other people early in your career. And I've certainly seen, there are certainly exceptions to the rule. We've egomaniacs in every level of any organization, so and certainly in executive context, you definitely have people who, struggle with that kind of thing. But, as a rule where I see like the people I'd want to work with, they're not there for themselves. They've kind of moved past that, so to say. Does everybody do that? No. Would it be ideal if they did? Yes, I think so.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for checking out this clip from the Data Talk podcast. To watch the full episode, you can either go to the Experian blog. The URL is experian.com/datatalk, or you can click on the link, which is found in the description of this video.